Following England's 11-try victory over Chile, I'm going to be assessing each of the players' performances as well as giving them a score out of 10. Now look, England were obviously expected to win this game and to win the match by some margin, so one of the requests in the comment section down below from my last player ratings video was to weight the ratings based upon the level of opposition. So for this game I'm going to give a sort of a score cap at 8. 8 will be the highest mark that any player can get. Please do let me know in the comment section if this is your preferred way of me doing this, or whether I should just stick to rating them out of 10. I'll use your feedback and then make a decision afterwards. So let's start off with the forward pack. I'm going to give Bevan Rod a 7, Theo Dan a 7.5, Sinclair a 6.5. So look, that front row I thought we did well. Obviously you'd expect it to do well at scrum time, and they did that in fact. I think they only conceded one free kick for sort of over-leaning the mark. Bevan Rod obviously got his try, a well taken try. He rode the contact quite nicely and then fought his way to reach the canvas and scored the try. So fair play to him. I do think he's a genuine option for the replacement loose head. I don't see an awful lot that Joe Marler does better than Bevan Rod, but I think it's quite close between them in my opinion. On the other side of the scrum at tight head, Carl Sinclair, average performance from him. I like to see him get his hands on the ball in the loose a little bit more. He usually, sort of 4 years ago, you'd see him make a lot more tip runs and be a little bit more sort of creative, but maybe it's just how he's evolving over time, and he was solid in the scrum. So look, you can't have everything. And then at hooker, Theo Dan, what a performance from him. Look, I love to see my Saracens players do well, and he certainly showed up. He bagged himself a brace, which was nice to see, and showed some good composure to score a couple of those tries. Look, they weren't, not all of them. I think one of them was quite simple, but one of them he really had to sort of bide his time and then pick his opportunity to go for the line, and he just about got it down. So fair play to him. In the loose, I also thought he was very good. He looked like he was going to break tackles on quite a few occasions. He did once, and unfortunately I don't think he quite linked up with Danny Kerr, but some really good running and defending on the part of Theo Dan. Now, I'd sort of say Theo Dan leans more towards the mould of a Luke Cowan-Dickie as opposed to a Jamie George. I think it's quite interesting to sort of compare this, as I see the modern day hooker of your sort of Dan Sheehan's being in the same sort of mould of Theo Dan, or as I should probably say, Theo Dan in the mould of Dan Sheehan. The sort of explosive hooker really likes to run with the ball, as opposed to the Jamie George kind of style, which is probably more concentrated on the set piece and a little bit less around the pitch work. Moving into the second rows, George Martin and Dave Ribbons, I thought they were strong. I'm going to give Dave Ribbons a 7.5 and George Martin a 6.5. I thought Dave Ribbons got involved a lot more than Martin. I mean, at the lineouts, Ribbons was pretty much the option on every occasion. You can't give him like super amounts of credit because it was largely uncontested line-out ball, but in the loose he looked impressive also. I think he shipped a few big tackles from the Chileans, but I thought he was good. And it's always good to see him get his arms free and get these offloads away, as he's quite a remarkable sort of frame. He's very, very big, so it's good to see him get a good game. And then George Martin, I wasn't overly impressed. I mean, look, he does the basics well. I don't think he made a mistake as such, but look, nothing to write home about in my opinion. Look, he's very young and inexperienced, so he's just on his way up, so you have to give him a little bit of time to settle in. But he did get in the squad over the likes of Johnny Hill, so he must be doing something right, and Steve Borthwick must have seen something quite big to pick him over Johnny Hill, and he must have got that from his Leicester coaching days. Moving into the back row, I've given both the flankers a 7 and Billy V a 6.5. Ludlam and Willis, Ludlam especially was quite abrasive around the park, really likes to carry it in hard. Jack Willis I thought was a little bit quiet early on, did well to get over the ball on multiple occasions and slow down the Chile's pace of ball, which was quite good to see, and we'll need to see a lot of that going forward into the knockout stages. Look, likes of Australia and Wales, you can't let them play at their own pace, you've got to disrupt it. And then Billy V, it was good to see him get some more game minutes. Look, he carries it in really hard, that's the one thing he really does, and tackles with a lot of aggression. So look, it's nice to have Billy back, and you definitely need some real size in that back row going into the knockout stages. So maybe you'll see him, or you might even see the sort of lighter, more elusive Benel. But yeah, it was good to see Billy get some minutes. Now into the back line, Danny Kerr from me gets a 6.5. and Owen Farrell a 7. I thought Danny Kaye, he made a couple errors early on. I wasn't overly impressed with his box kicking. He wasn't getting the sort of range in which you'd ideally like from a scrum half. Now, if you compare them to the gold standard, Antoine Dupont, who I wish all the best in his recovery from his cheekbone fracture. Look, Dupont off both feet, even his left foot, which is his weak foot, can go sort of 40-50 metres up the pitch. Now, look, I'm not saying Danny Kaye should be on that same sort of level, but I'd like to see him get a little bit more distance on his box kicks. Owen Farrell, I thought he really encouraged the pace of this game. Usually the pace of ball comes from your scrum half, but I thought Farrell put a real emphasis on the speed of ball. He took a tap penalty to put Henry Arundel in the corner, and ultimately throughout the whole game he was really trying to sort of play to the width and play an expansive style. Now onto the centres, I'm giving Ollie Lawrence a 6.5 and I'm going to give Elliot Daly an 8. Look, I thought Ollie Lawrence, he did what he needed to do. He's very good at what he does, and that's carry hard. I'd like to see a little bit more variation in his game. He always seems to be the crash ball runner, so maybe if Manu comes back into the centres, he'll actually be one of the runners that is on the arc. But England in this game used him sort of mainly as a crash ball option, which he's relatively small for a centre. I don't think he's even 6 foot. I know he's quite stocky, but I'd quite like to see him used in a slightly different style. But not a bad performance from Ollie Lawrence. But yeah, I'd like to see him used slightly differently by England. And then Elliot Daly, the highest scorer so far. I thought he was really impressive. Now, Elliot Daly for England has been starting on the wing quite a lot, so it was quite nice to see him get a shot in his preferred position. I thought he runs some really nice lines. Maybe I should move his score to maybe a 7.5 because it wasn't anything sort of unbelievably crazy that he did well, but he defended well, which has always been a point of question of his. And yeah, he got a really nice 50-22 off of his left boot. So yeah, I thought it was a very impressive performance from Elliot Daly. Moving on to the wingers, Max Malins for me gets a 6, and then Henry Arundel gets a 7.5, and just to put Marcus Smith in here as well, 7.5. Now Malins, he was given a very unsympathetic pass from Marcus Smith in the first sort of 10-15 minutes to score, and unfortunately he spilled it and the ball went into touch. But on the whole, I thought he competed in the air quite well. Nothing to set the world alight, but I think most of the focus from the media attention will go to Henry Arundel after scoring 5 tries. But Malins, he didn't do bad. He just didn't get an awful lot of the ball. I think half the time it's just coincidence. Sometimes the ball goes left and sometimes it goes right, and the ball went to the right wing a lot more in this game. So speaking of the right wing, Henry Arundel, really strong performance. Now, look, not to discredit the lad too much, he played really, really well and scored 5 really solid tries. I don't think any of them were sort of massively tricky to score. Like, I'd back most wingers to score them, but I mean, there's backing a winger to scoring it and then actually scoring it. So, look, he took his opportunities well, but in terms of forcing his conversation, forcing his name into the conversation of Steve Borthwick, for a knockout match, I don't see it massively. I don't think the level of opposition really warrants masses of changes in selection. But that being said, I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit more youth on that wing, with maybe Steve Borthwick including him. At fullback, Marcus Smith, 7.5, really solid from Smith. Exceptional in some areas. Nice little grubber to finish the half, which sent him under the posts. He got a couple tries, which you can't discredit. Look, he found it really quite easy to sort of slice through the defence in this game. His good old goose step came in a couple of times, and yeah, he runs some really nice lines and adds some really good pace in that back line. Now, look, if you look across the back line that played Argentina, look, with Manu and Lawrence, there's not an awful lot of pace in that midfield, and Johnny May's probably a little bit past his best, and then Malins also. Potentially sometimes we are lacking some speed, and Marcus Smith is considerably faster than Freddie Stewart, so maybe if you put Smith in at 10, that might change things about. I definitely don't see the argument of starting Smith at 15 for a knockout match. This is the first time he's ever played there, so give the boy a bit of time to settle in if that's where you want to play him. But yeah, those are my scores for the England versus Chile game. In terms of picking a man of the match, in the forwards, let's do a forward of the match. I'm going to actually give it to... I might give it to Dave Ribbons. I thought he was quality, and the only other player I could probably think of was Theo Dan, who did score some really nice tries. And then in the back line, I'm going to give that to Elliot Daly. and Elliot Daly's going to get my man of the match on the England side. Good performance from him, and potentially could work his way into the conversation for a start, depending on how he does against Samoa. So look, those are my scores. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you think any of these players have worked their way into contention for the Samoan fixture, and then consequently for the knockout fixtures? So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, I'll get back to every single one, and yeah, thank you very much for watching.